Welcome back into Fantasy Filmball. My name is Dyl, that is Matt, and on this episode, we are coming with some predictions for you. We have Best Cinematography, Best Animated Feature, and Best Picture. So as always, we do the nominations, our predictions, and this week, Matt is up first, and he is talking about Best Cinematography.
Yeah, so let's go through cinematography. This is a little bit of a tricky lineup at this point, actually. So I'm gonna start from the tippity top and make my way down. At this point, I think best cinematography, it's a race for number one, and it's a toss-up at this point between the winner. There's a lot that can change between now and the very end of the season, but yeah, I'm gonna have to say at this point, Avatar: The Way of Water is my front runner.
Let's go.
And after that, I've got Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, following it right behind. Now, I think these two movies are going to be so undeniably visually stunning that you kind of have to put them in this category as nominees, and I think they have a strong case to win. Now, they both have a strong case against the win, too. For Avatar: The Way of Water, the case against the win would be that they already gave Avatar a cinematography award in 2009. Are they really going to award it again? I mean, it of course does have underwater photography this time, and it's still going to be a visually stunning film. But are they always going to award the Avatar film? I don't know. And then Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. This film is so visually stunning. If there's one thing everyone is agreeing on when they finish this movie, whether people think it's good, bad, in between, they like the cinematography. It looks gorgeous. But at the same time, this film's very polarizing, and I don't know off the top of my head the last time that a very polarizing film like Bardo won an award as big as Best Cinematography. This is one of the awards that it doesn't necessarily mean the most to winning Best Picture, but I would say Best Cinematography and Best Director have a great, very strong correlation between the two of them. And is Bardo well acclaimed enough to have a shot at directing? I would say no, which is why I think it is a little bit shaky here. Then at number 3, I've got Top Gun Maverick. That aerial photography is really going to get it into this top 5 and maybe give it a winning shot because it does a lot of cool stuff up in the air. At number 4, I've got The Fabelmans. This is one that I've seen a lot of people say that they think it can win. Janusz Kaminski is a legendary cinematographer, but the film, it looks kind of plain, I'm going to be honest. It's not one that I think is spectacular looking in any way. And so, do I see this winning cinematography? No. But that said, I did just say that there's a pretty strong correlation between at least a director nomination and a cinematography win. And in past years, there has been a correlation between directing wins and cinematography wins. And Steven Spielberg, he's winning director. Could this tag along? Number 5, I've got The Banshees of Inisherin. Now, this is one that I think the cinematography is so strong. The way it uses light is so beautiful. You can see the streams of light coming through the walls of the houses, through the bricks, and it's just gorgeous to look at throughout the whole film. So, honestly, I think Banshees of Inisherin, while it might not be the strongest contender for a nomination, I think right now it's in my top 5. But following that, I've got Babylon. Babylon is a little bit of a tricky one here because this film's got some mediocre reviews. And the fact of the matter is, we thought Babylon might be a 12 nomination film. It's not a 12 nomination film. It's still going to get quite a lot of nominations, but it's not going to get everything that's expected. And if we're looking at what's on the chopping block, I think cinematography is on the chopping block. It's not one that I think I don't think it needs cinematography to get in. Following that, we have Tar at number 7. And Tar has had some strong support from the Indie Spirit Awards in cinematography, some strong support from some early critics groups in cinematography. Really, do I see it making the top 5? No, but I'm a bit biased because I think that this film is a little bit bland looking. After that, we have Sir Roger Deakins at number 8 for Empire of Light. Not a strong film, but the cinematography will get praise upon release. At number 9, I have Nope, which has a great narrative in terms of how they revolutionized tech in how they shot day for night and how they used the color grade and the specific camera technologies to make nighttime look so expansive while shooting in day. It has a great argument for it, but that said, is the film going to have the most traction at the Oscars? No. So Is it getting into the cinematography 5? I would say nope. And finally, at number 10, I've got The Batman. This one, Greg Fraser shot it. Personally, I think that this cinematography in The Batman is actually stronger than his work on Dune, which he won the Oscar for last year. Is everyone going to agree with me on that? No. And really, does he need another nomination this soon after Dune? No. And is The Batman as strong a contender as Dune? Regardless of what has the better cinematography, Dune was a top-tier contender. He did win the Oscar last year. I have to have him in my top 10, but he is solidly number 10 right now. That's my top 10. And overall, Dylan, what do you think about those rankings right there?
I mean, we have the same top 6, just in a different order. I also, being the Avatar boy here, have Way of Water at number 1 for cinematography. And the point you make about director and cinematography overlapping, that's why I have James Cameron in my director 5. Because if he's winning this, I feel like he has to be in that 5. Then I have Maverick at 2. I don't think it's winning, but I think it's the safest thing to a nomination for the rest of the category. At 3 is where I have Bardo. And that's why I keep saying maybe he can show up, Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, in director. He has a correlation here with cinematography. He has the track record of them loving him. He has a case. I don't think he's in the 5, but I think he's definitely in like the 8 for director, where a lot of people would say, no, he's in like 15. He's at like 20. He has no shot. I think he's a lot better shot, especially for people who have him showing up here as a number 2 or number 3 compared to people who have him in like director like at 20. Then that's where I think things get interesting. I think those top 3 are pretty safe. I think Fabelmans gets in at 4 just because it's a movie about film, and that's going to help. But I think it has a chance to be snubbed because if Fabelmans does have a little like dropping point, as we see some Best Picture frontrunners have, this is a category where it could falter. What's helping Fabelmans though is the fact that Babylon just had that dropping point. And that's what I don't know what to do with number 5, is because Babylon makes so much sense for cinematography. Everyone who sees this movie says how bombastic it is, how in your face it is, how eye-popping it is. But if the movie is not loved, and they're already putting Bardo in here, which is not looking like a picture movie, can they really fit 2 non-picture movies in cinematography? That's where I have Banshees getting at number 5, because like you said, it looks very good. It's very well shot, and Banshee seems like it's going to be a very safe movie. It's a movie they can't nominate in many places, so like they could put it in picture, maybe they could say director, but lead actor, supporting actor times 2, supporting actress, screenplay, what else is there? Maybe you could find a cinematography, maybe you could find a score, but nowhere else you can even put in your 10. And then after that, I think there's a bunch of stuff that could pose a threat, but not really. Batman, nope, they do cool things, but like you mentioned, they have a lot going against them. I don't think Empire Light really has a shot. They've shown that they don't care about Deakins every time. Just when Deakins is in like a notable movie, he usually gets in. This does not seem to be a notable movie. The one movie you don't have on your list I would like to give some sort of love to, just because it's sight unseen, is Emancipation. A lot of people are talking about the cinematography in the trailer. This is one that screams to me that it could be the one that pops up at ASC that doesn't make it in. That it just gets a random nomination here, and everyone's like, oh, last minute, Emancipation, get in here. Get in here, let's take out Bardo real quick. Let's take out Babylon. Let's take out Banshees, because these movies are a little divisive or not as big. Let's put Emancipation, because they just got this big nomination, and then it misses.
That's a very good point. And okay, I want to circle back to the director cinematography correlation. So actually, between 2012 and 2018, every year except for one, the same film won cinematography and director. So in 2012, Life of Pi won both, then Gravity, then Birdman, then The Revenant, then La La Land. Then it broke in 2017 because Shape of Water got director and Blade Runner got cinematography. But then 2018, Roma won both. But since then, we have a split between Parasite in 1917, Nomadland, and Mank, which that was a surprise one. Actually, both of those were surprise ones because Sam Mendes was supposed to win director as well as cinematography for 1917. Meanwhile, in 2020, Nomadland was predicted for cinematography, and then Mank made a surprise appearance there. But last year, we had our first time in years, our first time since, I don't even know when, actually, first time since 2010. So in 2010, Christopher Nolan's Inception it won cinematography, was not nominated for Best Director. And last year we had the same thing happen with Dune, where it won cinematography, but Denis Villeneuve did not make it in. So the correlation is really, really strong between those two. Usually for the two wins together, but if not for the two wins together, at least the nomination.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, last year was the year where trends were meant to be broken. Whether it was in Best Actor with no first-time nominees, Best Director going to a lone winner, or Coda winning without a lot with just 3 nominations and sweeping. So last year was a year for trends to be broken, and I will be really interested to see what happens this year. Do the trends come back, or are we starting a new trend? And one thing that we are starting a new trend with is Best Animated Feature, because Netflix is going to win the award. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, we said this in June that it was winning. And we look so smart now. We were like, no, it's not Turning Red. It's not Lightyear. It's not Marcel. It is Pinocchio. And now it looks like Pinocchio could even get into picture. That's how strong this movie is. The fun part with this category is when you go below that, because Pinocchio obviously is 1. Turning Red seems like a very safe number 2. And My Father's Dragon, Cartoon Saloon, they don't miss. So you have your top 3 locks. 4 is now where the door opens a little bit. We've seen the past. This branch loves Disney. They love Pixar. If they put out something, usually they get at least 1, if not 2, sometimes even 3 in. And this year, their number 3 movie, Lightyear, was pretty dead on arrival, and that leaves Strange World. Strange World just came out in theaters. It got the lowest cinema score in Disney animated history since they've been doing cinema score, and it looks like it's going to be a massive box office failure. But will that matter? Will the Academy care, or will they say Disney movie? And I'm sure this will be on Disney Plus before nominations happen. So, kind of like Encanto last year, where Encanto bombed at the box office, everyone watched it at home and like, this was really good. I don't think the same thing is going to happen with Strange World as in the massiveness of Encanto, but I still think Strange World will be pretty safe here at number 4. Unless Universal can get either Bad Guys and Puss in Boots in, and Marcel resurges up. I still have a little bit of hesitancy with Marcel the Shell with Shoes one. Even though it is eligible, I do see a world where voters would be like, no, that's just VFX. That's not actual animation or whatever their case is. So I think realistically the number 5 slot is a Universal DreamWorks movie. Is it Bad Guys? Is it Puss in Boots? Take your pick. And number 4 right now I have Strange World, but I could see that drop out and Marcel come in if Marcel starts to get a lot of nominations and people don't really seem like they care, but it's not. After that, though, I don't think anything else matters. There's 7 movies for 5 spots.
I think that's you make some really good points there. Now, what I want to say is that no Disney movie, you mentioned the cinema score, but I want to stress this. Not even Chicken Little got lower than an A- on the cinema score. People don't hate Strange World, but it's not one that I think is going to be carried by a lot of positive reactions. And we have seen Disney movies miss. We have. Frozen 2, for example. That was a movie that missed. It was one that seemed too big to fail, and then it missed. Winnie the Pooh missed. Besides that, there have been not a lot of movies that have missed from Disney. But Strange World can totally miss, especially when this year has been at least kind of strong for animated films. So personally, I agree with you on the top 3. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is winning, followed by Turning Red, My Father's Dragon. But personally, I would have Puss in Boots in my top 5. I would not have Strange World in anymore at this point. I don't think it makes it in. But the real question here is the Bad Guys number 5? Or is it Marcel the Shell at number 5? And for Marcel the Shell, the only thing holding me back, because this is going to be a critic's darling, people are going to love it, but is this film going to be enough animation for people to vote for it for a nomination? And I guess I just don't know the answer there. But, Strange World, it still has a chance. I just would not say it's in the top 5 anymore. But overall, I mean, I think you're right, and let's take our win. Let's take our win. We've been calling Pinocchio all year long. It's happening. It's happening, baby. That's it. Nothing else can win here. I'd say, if there's any category that's a lock right now besides Avatar for VFX, it is Pinocchio in animated feature. Uncontested at this point. But anyways, we are going to move right on into our picture wrap-up of the week. And not much has changed this week, so I'm going to rush through just a little bit. But again, I will go in depth in some of my theories, especially on why I still think Everything Everywhere All at Once is winning Best Picture. So I have a theory which is all about how I don't think that anything from any director who has been nominated in Best Picture before can win again. We've seen it time and time again. The only time since the preferential ballot has started that we've seen a second-time nominee win was Birdman. And we haven't seen a second-time winner since 2004, since Million Dollar Baby. So is The Fabelmans going to be a top-tier contender? Yes, but it's going to fall off the same way that The Power of the Dog did. The same way that 1917 did, that The Irishman did, that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did. It's going to fall off in a similar way to Roma. Or, it's going to be one that people think is happening to the very end, and I don't think it will happen in the very end. So Everything Everywhere All at Once, it has passion, it has love, it has fresh voices, which is the thing that I think the Academy wants the most of. They want something new, they want something different, they want something unique, and this ticks those boxes. So that is my argument for why Everything Everywhere All at Once wins. At number 2, The Fabelmans. Yes, it is the front runner, but is it going to lose that front runner status? I think so. I think it's going to be the number 2, the number 1 all the way until Oscar night, until it starts losing stuff. Until it loses might lose the PGA, loses the SAG, loses screenplay. It's going to keep losing and losing and losing, and, it'll win a lot too, but I don't think it can make it to the very end. Frontrunner fatigue, we've already seen it's underperforming at the box office. It's going to be, I think, a pretty enormous flop, and that might taint it as well. At number 3, Banshees of Inisherin. I think this one has a winning shot too. This is number 2 in original screenplay, and it has a solid case for a Best Actor win, Best Supporting Actor contender, and a Supporting Actress win possibly too. Number 4, Women Talking. This one's winning adapted screenplay. If it wins screenplay, it is automatically win potential. Number 5, we've got Top Gun Maverick. This is one that I think the buzz for it might die a little bit near the end of the season right there. But I don't know. I don't think that this one is going anywhere as much as the buzz might start to die. But also, I think this one could win the Golden Globe. Number 6, we have Tar. This one is incredibly strong with critics' love, incredibly strong with Cate Blanchett. It's going to be one that gets love across the board the entire season long. Following that, Babylon at number 7. This one, I think, is pretty much in no matter what. I don't think it is risking its Best Picture contender status here. But that said, it's not a very strong contender. It's one that a lot of people really don't like. So, but at this point, it's still in my top 10. Number 8, I've got Avatar, The Way of Water. We're going to be getting reactions from this soon. Not a whole lot of point talking about this when we don't know if the film is good or not. Number 9, we've got She Said. It's dropping a little bit, and it has a risk of falling out of the top 10. All because it's getting horrible, horrible, horrible box office results. Number 10, I have Pinocchio. This one, I think, can make it in on Passion. I think it can make it in on Netflix, pushing it so hard. They might be pushing Glass Onion a little bit harder right now, but I think Pinocchio, at the end of the day, is going to be their push. Number 11, I have Elvis. I don't think it's winning actor, which is why I don't have it in my top 10. Also, I don't think it's going to do well with critics groups. I don't think it's going to make Critics' Choice, and that might hurt it a little bit too. Will it make guilds? We'll have to see. That might be the determiner of if it can make it to Best Picture. Then number 12, got The Whale, which I'm not as high on as most people. I don't really love the film. And Brendan Fraser is really literally the only reason why this is anywhere close to a nomination. If Brendan Fraser starts to falter, the film dies. And then finally, at number 13, we have Glass Onion. This one, I think it has some potential for a nomination. It's going to be very popular. But that said, popularity does not always equal a Best Picture nomination. And that's where I'm going to leave it at for today. Those are the ones that I think are actually in the race at this point. Everything else I think is just sitting on the side waiting for something miraculous to happen. But these are the ones that I think have that actual potential of making it in on nomination morning. Anything you noticed there that you want to comment on?
Yeah, there's two big things. As Matt mentioned, he's had this theory all season long that, like he said, a previous nominee cannot win picture. But you mentioned a really interesting point I would like to bring up. You mentioned Women Talking can win adapted, and that makes it a contender. And while I don't know if it can go all the way to a win, Sarah Polley's not a previous nominee in Best Picture, and The Father came this close to winning Best Picture that year. And I think Women Talking could pull that because it could win. It could win adapted. It could easily win score. Then you pair it with a supporting actress win. Supporting actor, if everything ever falters a little bit, and Ben Whishaw gets a lot of passion because I've seen people really like his performance. Maybe he rises. I don't think that personally, but there's a chance for that. That's a pretty good package to contend if Everything Ever is not the Best Picture winner. And Fabelmans does drop because at the moment, what can Fabelmans win outside of picture, director, and maybe lead actress? Not much.
It can't win lead actress. What are you talking? It can only win picture and director. That's the biggest slight against the film is it has no win potential outside of picture and director. I
think if this is winning picture, she kind of has to come with it. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm saying if this film does win picture, there's no way that it can win without her, sort of thing. That just shows that they do love it, sort of thing. But
no,
yeah,
honestly, if it does win picture, I think. If it won picture, Judd Hirsch would have to win supporting actor.
Interesting. That's a conversation for next week when I've seen the Fabelmans to see if I can agree or whatnot. Because I've heard he's got one scene. Can you win on a scene?
He does.
That is going to be a great question. But yes, the rest of your lineup pretty much agree. Spots are a little bit different. I right now don't know what to do with that 9, 10, 11 slot because my 9, 10, 11 are also, She Said, Pinocchio, and Elvis. Just my order. I don't know what to do with them right now because Elvis has such a great case, but also one little thing really switches it from being like number 7 to number 11. And that's Austin Butler if he wins actor or not. Because I have not been on the Brendan Fraser train at all this season. And with him missing Indie Spirit, as we said, does that really matter? Who knows? But that shows sign that people don't really care for the movie and they just care for him. And maybe there's a screener issue, maybe, but they had 10 slots and they have every other A24 movie but that one show up. I think that means something at least. But yeah, other than that, pretty much agree.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week on Fantasy Filmball. Thank you so much for tuning in to our predictions, and thank you so much for tuning in this whole week to all of our videos and everything. Make sure you come back next week. We're going to be talking about so many other things, from The Fabelmans to Strange World, as well as diving into Steven Spielberg's filmography. So please tune in. We're very excited, and we hope to see you there.